Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
Okay. And how would you classify, how would you refer to your own kind of theological belief then? How do you believe in God? Do you believe that?
What do you identify as?
Yeah, what do you identify as? Let's put it that way.
I'm a Quaker.
Oh, a Quaker.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're Christian?
Yeah, but I would never really call myself a Christian. I call myself a Quaker. Like, I feel like that's actually a big difference. But
I've never met a Quaker before. I only read about them in historical aspect.
okay, yeah.
Now we've got one guy that comes here as a Quaker as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up like in like a Quaker household, like Quaker values, like. And in Quakerism, like you can believe in God, and you cannot believe in God, like, which is why I wouldn't really call it Christianity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, but not Quaker Christians and so.
They are a part of Christianity, like that's how they started, but like Quakers are not really. Now they've kind of more turned into like a philosophy or like a belief system.
Okay, interesting. Now, so I want to ask you a question now. To what extent do you believe that Jesus is God?
I don't.
You don't know. All right, so you believe in one God. You don't believe Jesus is God. Have you read the Prophet Muhammad's life? And because you were talking about it. So what are your impressions on that?
Yeah, I think it's nice. I think it's.
Did you read Tom Holland's?
No.
Or Patricia Crowe?
Oh yeah. That's a good. What did you read?
I didn't really read, but I more got told by like my friends, like Muslim friends. So, like, I read a little bit, but the main knowledge I got was from my friends. But
right. So the Islamic meta-narrative is as follows, right? So that we believe that there's prophets and messengers that were sent aforetime, like Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. Yeah. All of which came with the same message, which is to believe and worship in one God, and not to associate partners with Him. Now we don't, and not to associate partners with God, meaning to make something equivalent to God. So God is the all-powerful one. He's the all-knowing one. He's the creator. You know, He's omnipotent, etc. Right? And nothing is compared to Him. Nothing in creation is compared to Him. And likewise, He should not be compared with anything else. Now, all the prophets and messengers came to tell their people this, and also to tell their people to believe and worship in one God. And by that we mean submit fully to the laws of God. When we say submit fully to the laws of God, that means the revelation that is sent to the messengers and prophets. Now we believe that messengers and prophets were sent with two things. They were sent with a message, which is to worship one God, and they were also sent with some kind of an evidence. Okay, and this evidence is, it could be, in the case of Moses splitting the sea, it could be, bringing his hand out, and it becomes all white and luminous, or it could be throwing the stick and it becomes a snake, and things that you might have read in the Old Testament, which we also believe in. But it could be for the case of Jesus, that He cured the blind with God's permission, that He raised the dead with God's permission, that He walked on water, although that's not in the Quran, well, it could be all those things, right? Now, having said this, we believe that the Prophet Muhammad, his evidence was the Quran itself, so that it can be analyzable for people in all times and all places. Because had it been something which was localized, then we wouldn't have had access to it in the same way as the primary audience would. And so the evidence that the Prophet Muhammad had to come with was evidence that had to be analyzable by people in all times and places. And so we believe, for example, that the Quran has no contradictions. And in fact, the Quran is the only religious book that I know of that even challenges people to find contradictions in it, which is a necessary condition for something to be the word of God. In addition to not having contradictions, we believe that the Quran is also preserved. You wanted to ask something?
Yeah, so like the other texts that were changed, like the Bible, like do you think like any edition of them had like more contradictions, or like did they get more contradictory as they changed, as they adapted?
Yes, but even if you look at the first page of the Bible, I always say that you don't need to go far. I mean, if you look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, okay, you open the Bible, the first thing you find, that God created what? The night and the day. Okay, so but on the fourth day, He created the luminaries. So He created the sun and the moon and all these kind of, the sun, stars, all these kind of things, right? Yeah, come here to your right. So God created that. On the third day, there was vegetation that God created, the plants and whatever, yeah? Now the thing is this, even Origen of Alexandria, who was one of the ecclesiastic church fathers, okay, not a Muslim, yeah, he said that how could any man of intelligence believe that there could be a day and the night without the sun and the moon, which were created afterwards. In fact, in Genesis, so this is Genesis chapter 1, verse 9, verse 11. And then if you look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, it states that no plant has sprung up yet. So on the third day, you have plants and vegetation being created. But in Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, you had no plant has sprung up yet. So you have internal contradictions, and of course, external ones as well.
Is this in the Old Testament?
Yeah, Old Testament. But the same thing can be said of the New Testament. There's all kinds of contradictions. There, look at the crucifixion story. How many witnesses there were the tomb? Was it 2? Was it 3? We can go on and on and on. But contradictions are a good way to sieve out, these supposed revelations, which are claimed to be from the Word of God, or the Word of God in its entirety. The idea of the biblical inerrancy, therefore, is falsified. So we say that, number one, it has to be preserved so it can be as accessible to us as it is to a primary audience. It also has to be have no contradiction, because that's a necessary condition for something to be true. But also there are other things. So for example, one of these things, that is very interesting, because in the Old Testament it says that one of the signs of prophet is that the prophet would, when he speaks of an oracle or some kind of prophecy, will come true. This is Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 21. And you'll find that when the Prophet Muhammad, he speaks about the future events, things that are going to happen in the future, that it materializes as is. In fact, the Quran, it makes a very bold claim that in 3 to 9 years, in chapter 30, verse 1 to 6, that the Romans will have been defeated, and in 3 to 9 years that they will defeat the Persians in a nearby lowland. And there's so much confidence that has come into that prediction, وَعْدَ اللَّهِ لَا يُخْلِفُ اللَّهُ وَعْدَهُ, that this is the promise of God, and that God will not, go against His promise. We have evidences not just from the Muslim sources, but the Chronicles of Theophanes, which is a Roman source, states that exactly what the Quran predicted would happen materialized as the Quran stated. Which means that when the Roman Empire was at the brink of collapse, they was able to come back, rise up from the ashes, and defeat the Persian Empire. And so this could have gone awfully wrong. This prediction could have gone awfully wrong, and therefore we could have been able to disqualify the Quran from being the Word of God, but it didn't. And this is just one of a plethora of examples of predictions that the Quran and the Sunnah, or the Hadith of the Prophet, which materialized in the way that they did.